Yeah, so now we're going to discuss PvE or PvP multiplayer game design considerations. I think we're already all here and mic'd up, so I think we can get started. So, yeah, please give a round of applause, a warm welcome to our panelists. So, Sonja from Phantom Game Labs, Robert from Photon, and Chris from CosmoUniverse. Yeah, please make your way to the stage. Thank you. How you all doing?
Does it matter?
Not
anyway.
at all. I'll sit at the ends.
Cool.
See everyone. Yeah, fantastic. So it'd probably be useful if I got the questions up. But yeah, so for those that don't know, I've been doing this track all morning, but my name is Craig Chapple. I'm the head of content at PocketGamer.biz. But the interesting people are the experts beside me. If you could all just, introduce yourselves, what you do, and yeah.
Sure.
Sorry.
I actually just realized that my career is very like social / multiplayer heavy. So I started with building MMOs. Then I moved to create social SDKs at Schoolloop at Unity. Then came back to game development side. Where doing Zynga, where we connected world through games, and now I'm building co-op at the core multiplayer games. So yeah, maybe that's there. Yeah, that's the kind of funny.
The expert on multiplayer. But you don't like single player.
Think about it. Think about it.
Thank you, Sonja, and yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I'm Chris Song. I'm running the small studio. My studio is the group of the backend developers. We help the other studios to integrate the backend using their existing platform. Myself, I used to work at Metacore as a tech lead, also the Red Links, the Ubisoft here as an online tech lead. I joined the industry about 30 years ago, and mostly I work for the MMO or the real-time multiplayers for a very long time, yeah. So yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, Robert, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Robert. I'm from Photon. I'm the vice president there, so handling more the business side of things, customer relations, dealing stuff, but also talking with tons of studios about their multiplayer plans and how to make them possible, let's put it this way. And yeah, and I'm since 20 years in multiplayer, so I really started early on with Nokia phones and J2ME multiplayer games. Was a little bit early back then, but after some troubly times, we could pivot everything, and today we have about 1.4 billion monthly active players in our multiplayer cloud, and yeah, amazing customers all over the world, all over the globe.
Things have definitely changed over that time, and of course, Photon, you do. Well, you just did the talk, but you do kind of behind like Stumble guys as well, along with obviously the team, Kipka and now Scopely. Yeah, I've got a bunch of questions. I think the first question, I guess, just to kind of set things up is, as developers, what do you think more about now? I'm sure mileage, again, always varies with these things, but do you think more about single player? And then with multiplayer, is it PvE or PvP opportunities in mobile game development? And then do you have to have elements of at least 2 of these or 3 of these? Like, how do you think about kind of multiplayer these days, I guess?
Yeah, actually, I've been thinking quite a bit about the topic now that it's easy to start from single player and kind of add on social or multiplayer to that. That has, for some reason, maybe that's just a kind of an easy approach. Currently, I feel that, yeah, you can choose. You don't have to have 3. You don't have to have 2. You can just go with 1 as well, as long as you basically excel, have a kind of a laser-sharp focus on the experiences you are creating, because this is about creating something new. And when thinking of where the game industry is, it's basically shifting, trying to find also new opportunities. Like, is it more about kind of the destination gaming, or is it more about just like more traditional multiplayer, or I don't know, like wherever the direction is going. So, but yeah, point being, it doesn't need to be single player first, and that's why we go PvE first.
Interesting.
Yeah, from my point of view, I think this is my very personal opinion, but yeah, it mostly depending on the game itself. But from every time I'm thinking like the single player is more emotional, and the multiplayer is more psychological and social. Yeah, we know some concept about this. And then, yeah, it's like if we, and I think the most important thing is what we are expecting from our players. It's like if we want to deliver the experience of more emotional concept of the game, then probably single players are easier to yeah, give some better expression to the players. If we want the players to feel more social or some competitive play or something more like a psychological area, then probably the multiplayer could be easier to tackle that. So that's what I think, yes.
Interesting. Robert?
Yeah, also, of course, I'm working all the time in multiplayer. I think, I mean, the most important thing is that you don't look at what's out there and what might be, what trend should I follow, so you first need a great idea. And then I would say it doesn't matter. So if it's multiplayer, PvE, PvP, PvEVP, there are tools out there, so you can do it. And if you believe in your idea and think it's a good idea, you should do it. But of course, if you then it depends a little bit on your company, right? So multiplayer games, they are dominating the charts. They are absolutely dominating the revenue. So most the games that bring the most revenue are multiplayer games. That's for sure. But yeah, and then it depends if you're a multi-billion-dollar company, then you should definitely go into multiplayer. But if you're an indie team, the idea is what counts.
Well, I guess there are still lots of top-grossing single-player games, like I guess Royal Match, Candy Crush at the top. But I guess they do still integrate social elements, I guess. So it's always a factor. It's social multiplayer.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can have. So is Monopoly Go really a multiplayer game? Or is it more? I don't want to say fake multiplayer, but it's giving you the impression that you compete against people, and this might be the definition of multiplayer. I'm not sure. So, but technology-wise, it's not really needing netcode SDKs that we provide. So, but yeah, sure, you can create a single-player experience, enhance it with social features, and make the people feel they can compete. And what we definitely found is that competition leads, in general, to more retention. Which is a very important fact for any game, even for single-player games, right?
Yeah, it's another interesting way to think about PvP as well, like on top of a single-player game, rather than just you're actually facing off all the time. Really interesting. I guess, like, how do key How do key design considerations differ between PvE and PvP? I'm sure there are many ways, but if you can
I don't know where to. Maybe I'll start and then you add on. So, yeah, so of course, loads of issues to consider. Starting with the scale of the game, it's very different. Balance is different, of course. Like many design decisions are there. PvE, you need to focus more on the story to actually help the kind of lore or the progression. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
what else?
Yes, I don't know this is else or not, but yeah, it's like I think the PvE is more to, it's like cooperating with the other players, but not only that, within the PvE, we can also give some kind of a competition. I mean, it's like when we play the actual sports in real life, like football, we have 11 players in the team, but at the end of the play, still there is a one player of man of the match or like some different stats we can have. So it's like the PvE and PvE technically is, in the technical side, I think there's nothing very much different because anyway it goes through the network. We have to synchronize everything. The more important thing is what experience we want to deliver to the player. Like, do we want to say, okay, you need a good teamwork or you need some interaction with the players? or just we want to push the player to like playing some boxing or like some person versus person, yeah, PvE, single person versus single person play game experience or something like that. So I think it's more related to what the game design or the game service really want to deliver their concept of the game to the player.
First, I don't like the expression PvE very much because it's super broad. So is Stumble Guys, is it a PvE game or is it PvP? Because I mean, most might think or say it's PvE because you're running at one goal and against the environment, but no, you can also push people away, so it's definitely also competitive. So I rather like, is it cooperative gameplay or is it a competitive gameplay? I prefer these expressions. And then I think PvP or competitive gameplay has some fun in it itself. How can I say? If you go give two people a tennis racket in VR or in a game, you can have fun by just this. So it can be super simple to make it fun because of the competitive element. While I think in more cooperative games, you should always make sure that. And I was talking about this with Sonja yesterday, you should really make, and I think you guys are trying to achieve this for your current game, you really need to find a way how to incorporate these cooperative elements in the overall meta game. And that's not necessarily needed in competitive games. So maybe it's even easier from a design from a game design perspective, not from a technical perspective. I slightly disagree there, but yeah.
I was going to say, what was your thoughts on that, if you had a different, on the technical side?
Yeah, I mean, when you are thinking about competitive games, you have more unpredictability. Right. So if you have an environment, you know how this environment behaves, and if you have a co-op game or PvE game, you know how this environment behaves, so there's less unpredictability, and so there's less you need to work around, let's say. But like always, it depends a little bit on the type of game you're building. Yeah, that's for sure. A game like with a lot of physics is always difficult to make multiplayer. So if you have a co-op sports game, that can be super hard if you can just pass the ball or something and throw it, and so this can be really tricky in multiplayer. And then, so it's blurry, unfortunately. But in general, I always think competitive is technically more challenging. Right. But again, I don't want to do too much marketing, but there are tools out which help you doing that and achieving that. So it's doable for everyone. But if it's your first game, or your ever first multiplayer game, I would rather go with a co-op game.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
As your first. And you mentioned a certain game, Phantom Game Labs is working on there. So I guess, and I've lost the question. It seems like we're seeing an emergence of games in development that are focused on, correct me if I'm wrong, of course, focused on kind of co-op and PvE action games, and I guess like Riftbusters. But I guess, what's the opportunity that you see in that space? And then so far through development, and you've been in testing, like what's the lessons you've learned as well?
Well, the opportunities, I think, are quite obvious. Social is a fantastic glue to improve retention, and retention is and engagement is the way to basically keep the players engaged, and of course, like, you know, experience and enjoying the game for over a longer period of time. So that's the obvious objective. And well, we actually started the development from single player experience.
Oh, wow.
And learned So we use both like quantitative and qualitative data. So we learned that actually players, those raids or runs that were more like kind of collaborative or enabled players to like hassle with others. So in a group of 3 or more, those were the most liked ones. So that's why we did this kind of a pivot. We forget about the whole like single player experience. We don't need it. It's a more like stronger experience if we build the social and the kind of whole gameplay experience from the day 0 around co-op.
But I guess like why did you choose PvE over say players against other players?
Okay,
like,
yeah.
why?
So well, we are a team of 10, so small team. We need to focus. We can't do all, and then we start from our strengths and sort of best knowledge. Yeah. And of course, yeah, we played Helldivers 2, and we're like, yeah, actually, this type of game could be perfect. So it's also about like sort of inspirational references, like what basically excites our designer minds.
I'm a huge fan of Helldivers 2, and if anyone's played the Helldivers actually difficulty, which is not even the most difficult, that is an experience. I guess one of the things you touched upon there that I'd like to open up to everyone is how important is it to be thinking right, and you touched upon this, is right at the start of development, okay, we're going to add these certain multiplayer or social aspects right at the start, rather than adding them later or even pivoting later. Like, how important is it to do that?
Okay, look at me.
Well, I guess development
it's
always a creative process, right? So I don't think it's changed.
Yeah. So the how important. Okay. It's. No, it's like I don't want to say how much important or not. I think this is because more like what you want to choose. Because it's like, as I said, every game has a different expectation. They have a different aimings, targets. I think this is more about what you want to really choose and bring into your game, because we cannot do everything. Yeah, if there is a game with super great single play, super great PvE, PvP, everything, yeah, I don't know, I never seen that kind of a game. So yeah, like even not all the big company can do everything. So, but one thing came to my mind, like even the small studios, if someone asked me, like, what could we really technically integrate into the game, between the different like a PvE, PvP, or even the co-op or any type of the game mechanic itself. And yeah, I sometimes I'm telling them like, don't need to worry too much to challenge the PvP or like even the massive multiplayer or RPG, because it's like the very first video game, one of the video games is the Boehm, the PvP game. Yeah, it's totally different than these days, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's more based on where you are really going to focus on it, and then yeah, you can choose the path where you can reach there. And luckily, we have a good technology, good platform, Photon here. Yeah, we don't need to invest everything by ourselves. So yeah, so I think this is more about what you are planning for, not just tackling the difference between the options.
I think it's super important, absolutely, but it must make sense.
Right.
I'm in the industry since quite some time, and when that's all started, I don't remember exactly when people started, and there were lots of social SDKs coming to the market, and I saw a lot of games which just incorporated social features which were totally senseless, right? They did not really add to the game experience. And but I think it's super critical, and I think there are a lot of good examples why it's critical. So one, thinking about Fortnite and the lobby at the beginning, right? So they made it a social feature. They made the waiting time until the game starts, until the game fills up. They made it really a feature of the game with the dances, and then of course the vanity items, all the nice skins that you can buy are much more important if you have time before showing your latest stuff that you got from the Fortnite store and paid a lot of money for it. And games are a lot more than, so they are a social element in our societies, right? And people like to talk about it. And of course, it's, I mean, we are social, humans are social, and that's why social elements are super important in games too. And if you do it in a right way, it can drive a lot of retention to your game. So again, bringing Stumble Guys as an example, they had tournaments, and tournaments were, I think, one of the key elements of the success of the game. I mean, the game grew to number 3 of the most downloaded games in 2023 without any user acquisition, which is almost impossible, and this just worked because of their social elements. It was very streamer-friendly first, so streamers could play it, and then they could show a code to their audience, so the audience could play with their streamers. Oh, great, I can play with my streamers. This was a social element. And then the tournaments. And they even, so people, before the tournaments were kicking off, people were coming to the game because they trained in order to be prepared for the tournament. And after the tournament, they keep on going because they had a lot of fun, or they wanted to get better, or whatsoever. But so when a tournament was, there was always a spike in users before and afterwards. And what they also did, which was super clever, they gave the popular streamers the way to set up their own tournaments with our tournament engine. And so you could have your own streamer tournament. And this was, I mean, it's a social element in the game, but also a social element which resonates outside to the streamers. They could engage with their audience, so the game gave them a very good tool to engage with the audience. Yeah. And this was very, very important. But you need to really think about it. Does it make sense? Does it add value? Or is it just invite someone and why should I do it, right? So
I think this is a great example of, because I've been creating this social SDK, so great example how also the industry changes. Like back in the day, it was, we basically, provided like basic social features, which were like, achievements, leaderboards, guilds, chats, friend lists, what have you. Yeah, so sort of kind of basic stuff, but there was not really much of thinking. The devs were just like, sounds good. It was like a great ball of twine, like, more and more and more, and it was like an impossible and irrelevant social hassle on top of the core gameplay experience. And I think like, the Fortnite example, I think we have gone so far, which basically just highlights it's better to take a step back, think of the player experience, look what are you actually trying to build, what actually makes sense, and forget about all the others that leaderboards kind of sounds cool, but really like, is it necessary?
Maybe let me. Maybe a bad example is a Game Center from Apple. So I don't know, is anyone using it? So I think it's terrible, and it tries. Oh, now here are social elements, and if you incorporate them, everything will be great. No.
This is kind of an anecdotal question that is not based on any data other than my experience of some multiplayer games. So I wondered if it's a design consideration that you think about, which is, if I'm playing with some friends, we play PUBG, more Battle Royale, PUBG or like Apex Legends. One of my favorite things about it is it's a time to actually catch up with friends, because there's the action-packed moments where you'll go kind of quiet and just talk about what's happening on screen. and then you get the quiet moments where you're actually just chatting with each other, and that's actually kind of a social hangout almost. Is that something that you think about? Like quiet and more action-packed moments and how players will, I guess, interact with each other during those?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's basically what I consider the kind of the destination gaming, that you have a loads of time or just to like hang out. Even in Roblox and that type of games, you actually spend quite a lot of time actually not kind of creating or playing. You just like hang out. And yeah, we are sharing an office with Hype, so they do this like user-generated content gaming platform. I think that's a great kind of a source of inspiration also for different approaches, like how much it is about like playing games and how much the experience is about just like sort of, you know, hanging out there. For us, I don't know yet, we are hoping we'll come up with some original idea in that area, but definitely, you know, looking at it at the moment.
Anything else?
I think it's a fantastic example. Why do I think so? Because I mean, often we're fighting about awareness of users and discoverability, and about budget of gamers. But I think we are fighting for time of the gamers, because time is also a constraint. So people do not have endless amount of time to play games. And if you can play a game while hanging out with your friends, this combines both, right? So you don't have to decide, oh, should I go out and meet with them, but then I cannot play, right? So, and this combines both, and I think that's fantastic. And I mean, I'm not the type of gamer, but even we played PUBG when it came out on iPads with my old friends, and we hardly can meet because we live in different cities, so we meet in that game and we played that game. That's fantastic, but I think, that's not easy to achieve, right?
Please.
I really agree on your opinion, Robert's opinion, and it's like the one thing every time when we are talking about the social with the game. Yeah, actually, that social is not the same social in our real life. We are just having, we have our life and some different, different area or like a different place in somewhere in the digital world. And that social is more like, from my point of view, is like every time if there is any interaction or anything we do in this digital world, it may need to possible to have some kind of a relationship or anything. We can also bring it out into our life. Then that can make some more better social in the game. What I mean is like, when we play the PUBG or any type of game, if there's no one playing the same game beside me and they don't understand anything and even they don't want to listen about it, then actually that is only there. And then can we really say that is how can I say, like a well-designed social feature in the game? Right. Because even you don't know, if I talk to you, okay, that something happened there, like a blah, 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 and then isn't it fun? Then if you can react that I think that's the best way. So it's like all the social feature in the game. Yes, we talk about the word or some kind of interaction between the players, but we need to bring that idea into our real life to make it more worldwide and better. So I think that's more for the social feature in the game. Yeah.
There was just random. There's a game journalist tweet recently, like how, at least in I guess our ecosystem, maybe it's not a general thing, but like how strange or great a moment in time that was when PUBG released, because it's like, I don't think I've experienced any other game before or since then that literally I could talk to strangers like in the UK industry Slack or Discords or other journalists, like at any time of day, any day of the week, someone was free to play that game with you, and it was just crazy how everyone had it and everyone was up for playing it. I guess it was because it was a new experience. I think it probably also tapped in a bit more to Discord at the time, and I wasn't using it as much, for example. But, yeah. Interesting moment in time. We've got a couple. I've got a couple more questions here, and then we can open it up to the audience. One of the things I wanted to ask is, like, how do you think about the number of players you can and should have at once in your game? So, please correct me if I'm wrong on these figures. Stumble Guys has 32, I think, and Squad Busters, I think it's a team of 3, and then obviously we talked about some of those other ones where like PUBG is like 100. And even though I play Apex every day, I actually can't remember what the limit is. Is it 64? I can't remember. But yeah, but from a design and tech standpoint, I guess, how do you think about player limits and design around that?
So first, I mean, we are not building lots of games. I'm more watching what our customers are doing, but we do provide matchmaking. And so this is the first thing. I mean, you have to fill that up, right?
Yeah.
So, and Stumble Guys could have gone up to 64 players technically. That would have been possible even on mobile phones, but they decided to stick to 32 players. And of course, they launched with bots, which is super important because people do not want to wait forever. So this should be the first. Because I've often heard, oh, I want to build a game with 100 players, and they're saying, okay, then you need to have a clever game design, because you're a small company, are you sure that you can reach so many people that can fill your game, right? And if is it still fun with less players? Is it still fun with a ratio of, I don't know, if you always have 80% bots or whatever, or you just put a couple of bots? So it's really a tricky thing to consider, and then it really, yeah, it depends. Some games, I mean, I said in my talk that I was working on Bomberman back then, and we found that it's an absolute killer if we would have, so it's, you know, Bomberman, right? It's with up to 4 players usually, even with up to 8 players, but the normal mode is with 4 players. And it was an absolute killer if you have just 2 players and 2 bots, then boops the retention. So we needed to fill the games up with at least 3 players, 1 bot. That was okay. Below that, your game retention was going down like crazy. And this is a tricky thing that you need to consider while creating your game. So we have one customer, Thunder Lotus. They are building a 33 players, or 33 Immortals is the game. And it's a 33-player co-op game. And you battle against some RPG type of game, and you battle against bosses. And I haven't played it yet, but I'm super curious how they manage the game design, because if you start with, maybe even manage it to start with 33 real players, and then they drop out, how fast do the others drop out when you progress in the game? Wow, that's I have a lot of respect of these guys designing such a game, right?
Yeah.
That's why we are going with mainly with 3 players, as we feel that people are just not, people or humans manage like small groups better. so when it's a collaborative game, even if you don't have specific roles, but you just feel to be more needed or relevant when there's a small group. But to question about the scale, so we have like runs or raids, or maybe runs is a right term, so it's kind of a couple of minutes of missions, where typically you go with 2 others, but you can also do runs with, in a group of 12. So, but I think that's the range that we are testing, and I'm also very curious about the 32 immortals. I need to try it, like how on earth they manage.
But you say they're like teams of 3, but why not teams of 2, teams of 4, teams of 5? Why 3? Why is that the magic number?
So yeah, as I said, like one of our inspiration was Helldivers 2. So we just thought of like, it's like and also about the population, like population of the group. That it's nicer more fun to play with real people than with bots. So it's easier to get those like actual 3 players in. But I don't know, we'll test. We do live testing, so we measure, learn, get feedback from players. We might change it.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is what kind of interaction experience we want to give to the players. Yes, like we are trying to find the magic number for the game itself, and is this like the small group or the big group? Mostly the players feels like, okay, how many people I can interact in the game will be the best for my play. Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, let's say I'm going to watch the football. I'm going to visit the stadium for watch the football with my family. Actually, most of the time I'm interacting with my family member only, like 4. But if I go there, if there's only 4 people, are you going to feel really cheering up of the, sorry, the play itself? It's like even I'm not interacting with the people at the opposite side of the stadium. There's 50,000 people there, but still they are cheering, they're shouting out, yeah. And that is not the direct interaction, but still there is some kind of environment and the atmosphere coming to you to make you feel much better in the game. So I think this kind of balancing between the direct interactions, the environment interactions, those things can measure into the game to find the best number of your game.
I've got another question. We've got a few minutes left, but does anyone in the audience have a question? If you want to ask it right now. All right. I can't see a hand, but I can't actually see anything, so that's the... All right, I don't think there's a question, but I guess I have one last question. If I miss someone, just shout at me. That's I'm used to it. Can you, I guess, how do you prepare for a launch and ensure that from a technical standpoint that your game is ready to support, potentially millions of players, or at the very least, more than you might expect? And then how do you anticipate those numbers? And also, as a third part, just prepare in a cost-effective way, I guess, because you could prepare for 10 million, but if you're never going to get that, that's probably quite expensive, right?
So I've done product and analytics for mobile games for a long time. So my approach is always like, well, there are things we know. We know our budget for like user acquisition. We know the CPIs, so we basically can estimate the traffic and sort of conversion from installs to DAU, and then add whatever percentage of organics on top. So I think that's always like it's a very simple math exercise, but it's easy and smart to do. Then you basically have an idea that if nothing like overly surprising, like some viral whatever visibility happens. So this is basically what you will be seeing. It's more or less like this, and maybe in the beginning a bit more, and then it kind of drops there. So, and that's I mean, so going through so many games, and it's always the same pattern. So I can say that it's always wise to, from the kind of the product or design side, to just do the basic math, and then how to manage the kind of server side. Well, we rely on our partners, so. I let them to handle the server instances and scaling, hopefully dynamically.
Typically, most of our customers completely overestimate how fast it goes. So everyone thinks, oh, what happens when I have 1 million in one day, 1 million CCU? So then I often wonder, because there are public numbers. You can go to SteamDB and you see 1 million CCU. There are only a couple of games. that reach those numbers on the whole globe, right? So it doesn't go as fast usually, but sometimes it does, and then it's good to have the right partner. So not long ago this year, short before 1st April, so Rebecca Lautner from Landfall, they did content warning, which was a super success. And they called me on a Thursday and asked, hey, Robert, we are on your premium cloud. We will launch on Monday. Are we fine? And I say, yeah, no worries. But I'll tell our ops team. And then they went within 24 hours from 0 to number 5. Most played games on Steam with hundreds of thousands of CCU, which was crazy. So it was even fast for us, so we could manage it and handle that. But that's, I mean, amongst all the thousands of games we have launched, it was really outstanding. So I've never seen that before. So it can happen, and then I hope you have the right partner for that, because you cannot really prepare for that. So if you prepare for that, that's crazy, because it just happens 1 in a million, right? If you don't, then you have a right partner, or you have trouble scaling.
Yeah, I think we are already overdue the time, but it's like, I think I just realized this panel is really interesting because we are in a little bit different area. We all work together with the multiplayer games, but we have a little bit different background and experience before. And then from my programming background, it's like, I have a lot of story about this, but example like the Crossfire in China, we reached 8 million CCUs, something like that. But it never happened at the beginning, as you said. Nobody expected something, or like it was not really anticipated. So and the system was not ready also. So every time is like anticipation, like how we know the future. But at least the technical side, very technical side, we can be prepared a little bit more. There's more about the technical design, not the business or the platform itself. But so I think the more important thing is, it's like not only the anticipation itself, it's like more important thing is what we are really aiming for, because we cannot reach wherever we want immediately.
All right, we are out of time, but please give a huge round of applause to. I'm sorry, did I?
No.
Oh, sorry. Please give a huge round of applause to the panel. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.